speech today, the topic is the fingers of one hand. Firstly, what does this topic mean to me? This topic to me, in connection to race relations in Aotearoa, is if we take a look at our hands, there is no one finger that is the same. They are all different, just like us. You see, I might be Samoan, Tongan, have darker skin than you, who might be Irish and have pale skin. But we, my friends, we have a lot in common. You see, we are both humans. We both bleed red. We both have a brain and a pumping heart. These links should bring us together to shed light to our differences, but also to keep us humble in remembering that we are all humans at the end of the day. This is like the palm of our hands. It links each and every one of our fingers to create the five-fingered hand we all like to use in everyday life. In my speech today, I will be covering how our dark history has impacted modern-day racism, why it is important for us to use this in order to move forward as a team, the necessary steps we must take today in order to get there, as well as one of my own experiences of racism here in Aotearoa. The fingers of one hand. In New Zealand society today, we carry a very diverse community that is not always appreciated. We can see this by taking a look back at our history, starting with Te Tiriti o Waitangi. See, the main purpose for Te Tiriti o Waitangi for Māori was to protect Māori culture, customs, and language. However, in December of 2021, Māori MP Rawiri Waititi was ejected from Parliament purely for refusing to wear a tie instead of his pounamu. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like protecting our Māori culture to me. Then we have the Chinese gold miners from the late 1860s. These Chinese miners were invited to New Zealand to rework the goldfields European miners previously mined. They were excluded by the Europeans as well as the wider community for their appearance and lack of English. In our society today, we have created racist stereotypes naturally, that all Chinese people look the same, that all Chinese people speak broken English, and that all Chinese people cannot see because of the shape of their eyes. You might use these stereotypes as jokes, but it falls under racism, and you, my friends, might not even realize that. Scary, huh? Enter the dawn raids in the 1970s, where Pasifika and Māori, regardless whether they were here legally or not, were all being raided due to New Zealand's economic recession. Dawn raiders were filtering through illegal migrants based on race and color. Since then, Pasifika and Māori, they never really rekindled their relationship with the police. Yet, our government still reckon that they do not understand why 52.7% of prisoners here in Aotearoa are Māori and why 22% are Pasifika. Interesting, don't you think? The fingers of one hand. The suffering and oppression that these specific groups are facing in Aotearoa affects the well-being progress of the whole, because their struggle, it's our struggle. If we don't take the time to acknowledge our past, how do we expect to solve the current racism we have in our society today? By simply taking notes from our past, it can help us to not repeat history, but make a better difference for our future. The fingers of one hand. The suffering and oppression that our minority groups in Aotearoa are facing affects the well-being progress of the whole because we are in denial. We are failing to accept, acknowledge, and take responsibility of our actions, or lack of, which has led us to where we are today, the fingers of one hand. We all have a role if we want to eradicate racism from our country and build social cohesion. If I want to change the world, I need to start with myself. You see, to even get to the point of eradicating racism, we as a community need to work on ourselves first. We need to be the change. Every single one of us could change something. Change the way we react when we hear racist accusations against anyone. Change the way we use the race card to our advantage in certain circumstances. Change the way we teach our kids about racism. Change the way we as a country neglect to teach these parts of history in Aotearoa schools. Change starts within. Earlier this year, I came across my own set of racism here in Aotearoa. Studying one afternoon in our town library, listening to music, and making my way through Biology 101. To my right, a white woman reading what looked to be like a magazine, and to my left, a white male reading The Wonders of Farming. Then a white elderly gentleman entered the library and made it known that he did not want me there. I took out my earpods to hear what the commotion was about, and to my surprise, this man was calling me the N-word, telling me I needed to go back to my country, telling me that I needed to get out of that library. I did not belong there. You see, growing up, my mom always taught me to respect my elders. So I started to think to myself, do I still respect this man? Then the woman on my right and the man on my left came to my defense, told this man if anyone was to leave that library that day, it should be him because I have done nothing wrong. When the situation was resolved, these two people whom I've never met in my life continued to comfort me, telling me my skin color was beautiful and I should be proud of it. I thanked them and left the library that day. The fingers of one hand. We need to be like these two members of the public. Immediately responding to racism when we hear it, speaking up for each other, lifting each other up, comforting each other, and appreciating the differences that make us all unique. Change starts with us. Change starts with me. And change, my friends, it starts with you. Gradually, I believe that we can get there, to the place of unity where racism is nowhere to be found, simply by learning from our past, changing for the better, and doing it all together. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Luke chapter 6, verse 31. The fingers of one hand. Malo.